Welcome to the Universal Dancer Podcast with your host Leslie Zehr, author of The Alchemy of Dance and the Alchemia Remedies. Coming to you live from Cairo, Egypt, the ancient land of Chem. Journey with us to explore sacred dance, the sacred arts, the mystical and the magical. Join a community of like-minded souls seeking to understand the cosmic dance of co-creation through the sacred arts. Come along and expand your mind, ignite your creativity, and explore something new and something old. Welcome to the podcast. We have another interesting speaker for you today. So let's just jump right in and let me introduce you to my guest. Toni Bergins is an artistic alchemist, passionate catalyst, and the creator of JourneyDance and the Embodied Transformations Method coaching program. For over 25 years, Toni has helped thousands of people break out of their boxes, transform their angst into art, turn their vulnerability into strength, and move into new stories through embodied practice and emotional empowerment. A leader in transformational movement, she's trained over 1,000 JourneyDance teachers internationally and has presented workshops and trainings at centers including Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health, Omega Institute, Esalen Institute, 1440 Multiversity, Pure Yoga, New York Open Center, and more. She has been featured at festivals like Wanderlust, Love Light, Bless Fest, Unifier, and more. She leads online programs and teacher trainings and has a private coaching practice. She's been featured in magazines, books, and podcasts, has a popular JourneyDance DVD, and an inspired clothing line. Her debut album of original songs inspired by her life and work is called Never Too Late, released in 2019. Toni's humor, wild expressiveness, and authenticity make JourneyDance accessible to all. Let's welcome Toni to the show. Hi, Toni. Welcome to the show.
Wow, thank you so much. What a nice video. I was like, that was so sweet. I love your video too. My God, what a beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow, super beautiful. It makes me feel like, wow, I've done something with my life.
See? Yeah. I think we all need one of those videos just
right. Everybody needs one
to really see what we've really done, what our accomplishments really are.
Especially in the dance world, you know, it's a different world to be to have that kind of you know, what's the word, you know, success or whatever you want to call it, impact. You know, we're so used to everyone else having impact, but the dancers, we have to find our ways, you know, through the cracks.
Well, it sounds like you have.
I'm working on it.
So let's just begin at the beginning and let me ask you where your dance journey began. How did you first get involved in dance?
Well, let's see. So my dance journey began in an interesting way. I was not someone who said, oh, when I'm 3 years old, you know, I knew I was going to be a dancer. I was not like that. I was kind of a spazzy kid. I was not very embodied. I was very out there. And what happened was I had some, you know, difficulty in my younger years with my, you know, my body and feeling like I was emotionally overwhelmed by the world. And the healing thing for me was dance. Dance did it to me. Dance was I found my divine spark on the dance floor one day. And that's when my whole life transformed from somebody who I was in a lot of pain. I was in emotional pain. I was causing myself physical pain. I had an eating disorder. I was using my body. You know, I was abusing my body in a lot of ways. And when I came to the dance floor, I had, you know, learned as a small child little types of dance, you know, a little ballet here, a little jazz there, a little modern. And it was always a negative experience for me in that perfectionistic style of movement. And I had like sort of a cosmic experience on the dance floor when I was just dancing freely after many, many years of, you know, always trying to fit in and be different. So to make a very long story short, it's a whole epic journey really for me myself. I went to Kripalu Center of Yoga and Health, which is in Massachusetts in the United States. And I was in this class. It was all just like people moving around, you know, it wasn't a big deal. It was just a lovely group of people just dancing around and just having fun. And this teacher, he said, "Oh, you're all so beautiful." And at that time, you know, I was like, I really need to hear that. I think I was 23 or something. And I was like really going through a ton of stuff. And when he said that, I kind of went off into the corner and had my little moment. And I just was in my body in a way that I can't describe for the first time. I was so in my body. I was so present. I was hysterical crying, all these emotions pouring out of me like a well had just been opened. And I was like, oh my God, all my life I've been spending focusing on the wrong thing. That's what I felt like. And it just all, I had a voice in my head, you know, said, this is what you have to do. And I was like, what? I'm like, I had another job. I was working in New York City. I had a whole career I was starting. This is your life's work. And I was like, oh my God, okay. All right, whatever that means. So I ignored it for some time. And then it just came back and I had to go and dance.
The dance found you.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, and yeah. And it wasn't like you're beautiful physically. It wasn't that I needed to hear. It was so much more on a spirit level, on a soul level, on a personal level, like on an emotional level. It was almost like, this is what I really feel like, and I don't talk about this very, it was almost like the voice in my head said, yes, you are a soul. It was like, yes, you are a soul. You're not just a mind, blah, 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 blah. You're not just a body. You know, what is this thing anyway? You're not just emotions. You are a soul. You are more than this. And that is what got me on the dance floor. I know it sounds strange, right? Because I love movement. I love the body, but it was that the body was a vehicle for me to feel this other thing that I call, you know, soul. That's all I can really call it. Spirit, something else.
But I think we're often detached.
Absolutely.
I mean, even if you feel your body, you may feel it separately to the rest of you, that it's maybe not really part of you. And I think this is true. I think we're coming back to that concept that the body and the mind and the emotions and everything are connected. But for so long, we lived in that place of that they're not. So if we do experience them, I think we experience them in little pockets and not necessarily integrated. So yeah, you
absolutely
had a holistic experience. Yeah.
I mean, being educated, you know, in this country, as we know, I mean, in this country where I live, there's so much misinformation we're being educated on, and we're being educated out of our emotions and into the intellect. Because if we stay in the intellect, then we can stay, you know, sort of above what is happening. But if we were in the emotions, it would be so hard. That's why the kids right now are having such a hard time, because they're getting a big dose of transparency. And people, you know, in my age group and higher, we're having to like wake ourselves up and see what's really happening. So I feel like what dance does, especially, you know, the way I approach dance, is that I'm reawakening people's connection to their really innate wisdom of their own. I'm not giving them wisdom. I'm saying, what do you feel when you're in here? What do you see when I suggest meet your inner guide right now? What do you see? You know, what does the inner high priestess say to you? What does your inner, you know, masculine say to you? So I do a lot of what I call, you know, gestalt splits, where I invite people to meet other parts of themselves on the dance floor, very similar to parts work. You know, what does your inner child say to you? So it's really about digging into the self, you know, through this. And it's almost like a cosmic situation where even though when you dig into the self, you dig into the psyche of the collective, really, in a lot of ways. So we're in a major healing crisis right now, and everybody needs to heal ASAP.
In so many ways.
Oh my God, in so many ways. But when we heal, well, really though, I mean, I just finished leading a program literally just yesterday, so that's why I was very, very a little bit wiped out. But it was amazing, and we had more men than we ever have in a program. We had like 10 men, and normally we have 2 men, you know. And the men really did a ton of healing, and we held space for for them to feel and cry and release and let go and not be in their usual like masculine mode of, you know, suppression. Because suppression is so much more exhausting than releasing. And that's what we've been doing as a world. You know, we're suppressing instead of,
we're programmed that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're doing
that's what school has taught us. Yes, exactly. Reprogramming.
It's the reprogramming on the dance floor. Right. Exactly.
So maybe you can kind of just take us through and explain a bit about what Journey Dance is. Maybe just give us an overview. We've heard a few little pieces, but a more cohesive for those that have not experienced it before, including myself.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'd love to. Okay. So Journey Dance. Okay, I'll give you a little. I'm going to start from the beginning. So I'll give you like sort of the 2-minute Journey Dance. Okay. So you're going to come into the space and you're going to find your way and just kind of be in your body and start noticing where you are in the space and yourself. And then we're going to come down. We do a little invocation prayer, like whatever you need right now. Prayer is a weird word, so I call it, we do an invocation. So today, may I be in my body, may I feel my feelings, may I heal whatever needs to be healed, etc. And, may I be of service to the world, because right now we all need that so badly. So then we're going to kind of come in and we're going to get onto the floor and we're going to do what I call the embodiment series. And we're going to roll and we're going to pour and we're going to stretch and we're going to feel all the surfaces. I call it total surface area dancing. Then we're going to awaken and come into the spine and we're going to find sort of like, these I call it animal dancing, low dancing, where your spine can undulate and move and you can drop into places that you don't normally go into, etc. And then we come out of that and we rise up in this particular, like, super organic, everything's super organic, no rush, no steps, just we follow kind of the flow of the music. And we rise up into what we call immersion, which is where we kind of find our real, like, what is happening in this body right now. And after we immerse, which is like slow flow, like watery movements, then we start looking around. Oh, look who's in the room. Oh, okay. Hello, 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 hello. And then we start like activating that hello. And when you see other people, you start everyone lights up. Like, I don't even know how else to describe it, but we light it up. And I look at your face and you look at my face and we're making shapes together and we're creating and our bodies are moving. And we call that funky connection. And we do quite a bit of that to really get like the energy. It's really an energy work. So the energy is now up and high and we're cranking and we're cruising and we're seeing each other and we're in groups and we're by ourselves and we're, in a big group, and we might like go off into little pairs and really just interact with each other with the body. And then it's all being led, with a light guidance, okay, of the teacher. Then now that we have what I call safe container / sacred container, energy container, we drop in. And this is where we do the emotional process work. And I call it evocative emotion. So now we're in the next phase. So here's where things get really interesting. Okay. So the bookends of Journey Dance, the first part is mostly the same. And then the end, when I get to it, I'll tell you. But this part is where things get interesting. So I will play a song that is, all orchestral, and we'll feel that, dramatic grief that comes from the violin or the cello, or we'll have like a voice, or some lyrics that are so evocative, and we'll tell our story to the dance floor. This is where we start really doing the telling your story. So everyone kind of goes off on their own now, and we're all just telling our stories to the dance floor. I could play something super gritty and like bring that frustration, anger. Sometimes, these things, rage could even come to the surface. But it all is being processed through this dance called Tell Your Story, the dance floor. I have many different versions of this. That's where Break Out of the Box comes in, and we build a box and we break out of it. And we use our mind and our intelligence with the body and the emotions. It's like a whole fusion right here. Okay. And this is where the process work happens. So that's called evocative emotion. After we stir up all this gunk, then what do we do with it? Oh my God, I'm not going to leave you that way. Don't worry. So then we go into what we call the alchemy section. And the alchemy section is where it has a very shamanic feeling. If you know what that word means, like altered state, we call it alchemy, where like we're going to turn this stuff that we just discovered into something else. So we're either going to have it be transformed through the element of fire, through the element of water. We're gonna shake. We're gonna release it. We really go into this deeply. This is the big kind of crescendo of the work. If you know 5 rhythms, it's similar to chaos, but with a psychological overlay that I'm doing, like offering meet your inner guide right now. So I might say something like, okay, now that we're totally present, we know what our stuff is. What would your inner guide say to you right now? So we step out of ourselves and into the other space. So like I'm here and I'm here and I'm having a conversation with myself on the dance floor. I'm clearing my energy. I'm giving myself what I need. I'm cutting old cords. I'm doing the work on myself. It's super, super self-imposed therapeutics in a sense. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. You with me? Okay, great.
Yeah,
So then
I am.
Once that's complete, once that's all complete and we feel like we're really empowered, we go into empowerment celebration, which is now, okay, what do I want to do with all this? Now that I have all this energy, I've cleared, I've looked at, I've embraced some of my pain, I've felt some of my anger, whatever it is, whatever layer we're at, and it's always different. The layers are going to change and change and change. Then we're going to go into celebration. I've done it. I made it through the tunnel. Woohoo! And we start playing a little bit again. Bring that joy back in, bring that sort of memory that even though this is my story, it isn't actually the truth, right? The truth is that I'm still this amazing soul in a body having a journey, and I'm going to celebrate that. Okay. So we play like epic music. It could be all over the place, from like, real party music, like from dance floor, like, big room dance floor, dance house stuff, all kinds of music. And then we go into the next section, which is heart. So we kind of, after celebration, we drop into heart, and at heart, everything starts to come full circle. And I'll play some music, and the Journey Dance teachers will play some. It is still evocative, but it's a different flavor. It's like a sweet flavor of evocative. So we're like, okay, where's my heart right now? And we come into the heart, and these are some of the most beautiful dances you've ever seen. And I bring scarves in because I've studied psychodrama, and I love using the scarves to represent either your heart or your inner child or something really special to you. So you dance with the scarf, or use your hands, and then you let it open, and you really listen to the heart. Let the heart start talking to you. Okay, so I might say, what does your heart have to share with you today? Or what does your heart need? Or have you been nice to yourself? Because sometimes we're so hard on ourselves. It doesn't even make any sense anymore, how hard on ourselves we are. But it's, again, conditioned through experience and pain. And when trauma arises, our nervous system goes into an overload, and we shut down. So we don't often talk to our heart. So we do this heart conversations, and sometimes we work in pairs, and we have a really deep experience with another human being. These are some of the witnessing dances, we call them in Journey Dance, where I'll say, okay, Leslie, you're going to dance for me. I'm going to hold space for you, and you're going to dance. So I'll just be here holding space, and you would be expressing, and then we would switch, and you would hold space for me, and I would be expressing. And there's something about being heard. Now that I've done all this process work, now I can really be heard. And after that is completed, we go into what we call prayer. And I love the word prayer. I am not a religious person. I have never been a religious person. I've tried every spiritual path you could imagine. I've read many, many books from many different religions, including all the Judeo-Christian and some Islamic. I've read lots and lots and lots of religious text, Buddhism, everything. And I think prayer to me means your personal connection with source, spirit, energy. So we'll go there, and we'll start to feel, what is the energy? Where am I today? And the music is like super, expanded, and it has this, quality of upliftment to it. And then we go and we close our eyes, and we go deeply into our own prayer dance, we call it. And then we come into the earth, and we give it back to we call her, her, Gaia, the great mother, whatever you want to call her. We go back to the earth, and we drop in super deeply, and we just let everything go, and we just become, that's kind of the end of the journey, and we come back home. There you go. 2-minute
Wow.
Journey Dance. I know it's a lot.
Journey Dance in 10 minutes.
Yeah, right. Or less.
But how long does this take? Like, is this in levels, or
a really good Journey Dance, like when you're really doing the whole process full on, I would say like 90 minutes feels really good. You can do it a little bit less, which is when most people only have like an hour in their lives for some reason, which is, makes sense. We all have many things we're doing. So I can personally compress it really well into an hour. But I would say that 90 minutes is really like just a delicious amount of time. But, we can do 2 hours. We can expand. Everything can be expanded or contracted to the time that you have. Really, it truly can, because you can get embodied in 5 minutes if you've been doing it for a long time. If you've never done it before, it might take 20 minutes to do just embodiment, just rolling, pouring, finding your surfaces, your skin, your edges, your muscles, the bone, really feeling yourself. So that's pretty much an average. Between an hour and a half is really good.
And then it's like a weekly class, or you're doing this as a workshop, or what?
Oh,
what's
everything.
The format?
There's so many formats. I mean, I do a weekly class. Personally, I teach, I've been teaching many weekly classes for my whole life. But I have a weekly class currently happening on Zoom on Tuesdays since our whole world, went on to Zoom, onto the online world from the wild ride that we're on right now, the pandemic and et cetera. So I've been teaching on Zoom Tuesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I've been teaching every Tuesday for the last year and a half. Yeah. And some Saturdays. And then we have workshops too.
And how is that? Like, you're doing the same process, or these are different levels, or what's the difference?
Oh, you mean between
like a workshop and a weekly class?
Oh, in a workshop, yeah. So I just finished leading a workshop at Omega Institute, and it was a week long. And every day we danced, and every afternoon we danced and we wrote and we shared, and it was just it's a much deeper dive. I mean, it's a much deeper dive. One of the women she is a psychology professor at some university in New York City. And she said that was literally like 10 years of therapy. And I'm a psychology professor and I'm going to write about you. So I'm super excited. She's going to write about us in psychology today or something like that. I was like, yay. Because movement is so much more therapeutic than we give it credit for being.
Yes, we're all in our heads, and that doesn't necessarily address where our issues are. Which brings me to the next topic of embodiment. Because obviously that's a big part of what you're doing. Let's talk about that a little bit. What do you feel is going on? Like, why is this so important?
It's so important. It's such a good question, and people really have a lot of hard time. Like, the word embody is really like a hot buzzword right now. And it's so much more to me really than just like, if people are talking about, let me say this to the listeners. If you're trying to study embodiment and people are talking about embodiment, it's not embodiment. It might sound great and you'll learn a ton, but embodiment.
It's theory. Yes. It's the theory of embodiment.
I'm always like, hey, I'm like, oh my God, I want to do something with this body. So embodiment is actually embodiment. Like, it's actually getting into the body. So movement, really, if you want to do embodiment, you got to do something with yoga, movement, dance, theater, some kind of expressive shaping, some kind of movement. I'm not saying that all embodiment, it could be meditation, but it's something where you're feeling. Embodiment to me is getting out of your head, as you said, Leslie, and into your body. I mean, that was my tagline for like 10 years. Get out of your mind and into your body. And we're so scared of losing our mind. And it's not because you're going to actually lose your mind. It's because your mind won't be in control of you anymore. That's why we're scared of it. You're not going to go out of your mind. From dancing, you're not going to go out of your mind, but you will let go of the mind for a bit and be like, oh my God, like, I am free. The mind is our, basically I feel like I'm in a video game sometimes and my mind's like, do this, do this, do this. I'm like, wait a minute, I control this video game, not you, So it's like when that spirit, energy, soul part of you can take over and say to the mind, oh, thank you for that information. Thank you for that negative thought. Yes, I get that. I know that that's my pattern. Once you step like a teensy bit away from it, it's almost like you're in your body now. Now you're conscious because you're in control of, not in control, but you're in the driver's seat of your life. It's a different feeling. And I think it really happens through embodiment. So I'll try to explain it in a way that will make sense. So I used to describe the way I lived my life before dance. So before dance, I went to school and I got really good grades and I did really well and I got a job and I did the job and I went to work every day. I swear, I'm not kidding. And I had a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I went to, I did all the things that you do. That's just what you do. This is what I did. And I realized that I was living on this like level of existence that it didn't have any, it had undulations of my own personal internal, but it didn't have a depth to it of experience. Like, I felt like I was just like I was just like I was driving on autopilot. So I call this thing the escape hatch. So I used to have this thing where whenever anything would upset me, I would go up into the escape hatch. I had to do it this way because I'm mirrored. So up into the escape hatch. This is the escape hatch where I don't feel my feelings. I just live right here in the escape hatch. So that's, to me, that's being disembodied. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you get into your body, I'm not saying it's going to be easier, but it's so essential, because if we're not in our body, we're living in the escape hatch. So nothing really is our responsibility. We're in the escape hatch. We can just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to just compartmentalize that, compartmentalize that, I'll compartmentalize that, and that, and that. And then I'm really, really unhealthy. And we as a culture all are doing that. So how do we get into our bodies? We literally, even just someone touching you could put you into your body. I don't know if you ever had that happen where you are feeling just not good. You can't relax, you can't calm down, and you just hug someone. And just the hugging or just the touching, someone else actually just touching your back, or touching, your shoulder, and you settle. Because we're actually are a lot more, we have so much more, what's the word I'm looking for? We have so much more ability and so much more resilience and so much more skill and presence and depth to connect if we're in our body, even though it's hard, because there might be emotions that you don't want to feel. So when you're traumatized, and I'm saying this to traumatized individuals, which there are so many, more than there should be, there are so many, and I apologize, and I wish every person their highest and best healing now. But when you're traumatized, or when one is traumatized in their life, the nervous system is programmed to take us out of any chance of repeating that feeling, that whatever that feeling was, I will never feel that again. Okay. So when we shut down a feeling center, if it's fear, if it's terror, if it's rage, if it's anger, if it's grief, we shut down all of it. We don't just shut down that one feeling, right? So we shut down pleasure and joy and freedom and aliveness, right? So it's like this. So we're living in this, like, I must not ever feel that. It's like, it gets so tight. I must not ever feel that. And then I never feel it. And then I never feel anything. So I'm just numb. And that's the escape hatch. Yeah. So I had a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's like a mild dissociation. It's not like a total disassociation, but yes, it's like a numbness. It's a numbness. Mm-hmm. It's a mild disassociation, I call it. Because there's
that's other pathway of the vagal nerve. Yeah.
Exactly. So when we let ourselves feel, which is absolutely terrifying for some people, and I completely honor that, we release the memories, the whole, like the cellular, the way many people talk about cellular memory. I'm still processing the journey of the Jews through, I'm Jewish, by culture, and I'm still processing those cellular memories of my past, of the past of the Jews. Sometimes I feel it and sometimes I don't, right? But I'm also processing my own experience. So it's a lot. So that's why I love the dance and the movement, the sweat and the sounding and the emotional release through movement. It doesn't do that thing that if I talk about it, it does it. It's different. Mm-hmm. It's a whole different, I'm coming into my altered state where I'm able to just really feel it and not re-traumatize myself over and over again by other ways of processing, which I feel like make things more solid. I love the fact that our stories are our power, and I think every person's story brings them into their passion and their right kind of relation with the world. But if we don't heal, we end up with all kinds of toxic stories running around, if that makes sense.
Yes, but I think that the healing path takes courage. And absolutely. I think that where you started when you were talking about the mind, I don't think people are afraid of their minds. I think they're afraid of their emotions.
Absolutely.
And so that dissociation or that stepping out thing is because, yes, the emotions are in the body. So
yes, and if I let them
connect
out,
to my
right.
body, then I'm going to find
Uh-oh.
them in there somewhere,
Right.
and I won't know how to deal with them. And the problem is that if you don't learn from a young age how to deal with things, how to deal with people or situations,
Yep.
you're at a disadvantage. And I found that when I came to Egypt, because people are obviously it's very dense here. There's a lot of people. People live in extended families,
Yes.
and they have to learn how to deal with other people.
Absolutely.
If they get angry at somebody, they get angry at them. And I don't know how to do that. So I'm that toxic. I hold it and hold it and hold it until the volcano erupts, because
Right.
I don't have the skills. I never learned the skills as a child, how to express anger when it came up. I only learned how, this is typical Western society. We learn how to swallow it or repress it. So we don't have those skills. So yes, I don't ever want to get in a situation where I'm going to be angry, because I don't know how to do anger. So I guess that's why I came to Egypt, was to learn how to actually deal with my emotions. Yeah.
I'm good at anger. I have to tell you, I do a lot of anger on the dance floor, let me tell you. Yeah.
But we don't know how. And it is a practice.
Yes, it is.
I think that's the thing. Though these are skills that we never had we never learned growing up. So, and I'm sure in different cultures people do, even like within the United States, you have different little cultures, and maybe certain ones have retained whatever it is that they learned how to deal with other people. But I think too, as we get more disconnected and more separated,
absolutely,
we have even less and less skills of dealing with other people. And
we're getting so socially messed up, because there's no, real emotion is not coming out on these apps and Facebook and Instagram. It's just like, it's socially disconnected, and people can say whatever they want and be crazy because they don't have there's no feedback, no real feedback. So
if somebody was standing in front of you wouldn't say the things that people say on social media, because you'd have to deal with the person's reaction as well as whatever they might do.
No, exactly. And it's so, I love what you just said. It's so interesting, because so in Journey Dance, the modules of teacher training are very specifically designed. So the first module is like, what is this process? So then we go through all the qualities that I led you through. But the second module is, okay, what do I do with all this emotional material that I'm feeling when I'm teaching and that I'm processing, and what am I doing? So that evocative emotions section I was talking about is so key, because that's the part that's missing in all education. And I write about that. I'm actually currently I'm writing a book right now, but I write about that because it's really true. And a lot of our associations that we have in our body are that we think are like our love might be fear because of the way our parents treated us, or like we really have to get to know ourselves in a whole new way. It's like a re-education, a reparenting, a nervous system reboot. What does safety really feel like for me? You have to ask yourself that, like when you're dancing, like how do I let myself be angry? Well, guess what? If I play a song like and we're just like doing it, it might come up and scare us, but it also might come up and be like, oh my God, I have to do this. This feels so amazing. I never do this. And some people they want to just burn. I remember when I first started, I had so much bottled up emotion, and my favorite quality was the fire and just letting it all out. I've changed a lot over the years, so now I have a lot more access to my vulnerability, which is very hard for me. Anger was a much easier emotion for me to deal with than vulnerability, because my family structure had a lot more anger than it had vulnerability. So we have different, we come from different moments. So, but I like that, because the emotions, what happens is when you can do the emotions, and I'll say this very carefully, in a sacred container. And what I mean by sacred, I mean, we set a container. Everyone who's in this experience knows that this is the beginning and this is the end. So we're not going to be feeling the anger forever, and we're not going to feel it even for that long. We're just going to feel it little bits at a time. We're going to release the anger. We're going to release the grief. We're going to feel joy. And then we're going to feel tenderness, right? Or we're going to feel today's going to be anger, grief. Today's going to be, whatever it is in that moment. And I really pick the song based on like my vibe of the group. So if the group feels like, whoa, this group is so much energy, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it and give them something really that they can just really express to, because we just don't know how to express, as you said, so many of us. And then the other side of that is that when we can express, then we have empathy. It's like literally, it's like a double-sided coin. If I can express myself, then I can learn empathy. Then I can feel compassion and empathy. Because if I know that I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling whatever, then if that person is feeling it, I know how it feels to feel like that. And I'm saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry you feel like that. How can I hold space for you? How can I be there for you? Because we need that right now more than anything. We learn empathy from each other, like from being with each other. We don't learn empathy alone, in isolation.
We don't learn anything alone. That's an illusion.
It is.
We learn how to be alone by being alone.
Right. We and it's all relational, the whole thing. It's so funny.
No, we do. We need mirrors to reflect to what's going on. I think
absolutely.
Most of us don't know what's even going on within ourselves.
I know. And I love what you said, mirrors, because on the dance floor just on Wednesday night, we had this massive outdoor dance with no masks on. I was so happy with this huge field. It was so enormous.
Wow.
The moon was out. And this is the first time I danced with humans in a year and a half, like in person. I was just beyond happy. I mean, I couldn't even tell you. And sad and every emotion, but I was so excited just to be with people. And I was talking about mirror neurons and how, like I said, now look at someone's face. Because when you're wearing a mask and you're dancing, it's so different. You really can't, it really takes a lot of the energy away. So as soon as the faces were back, everyone was like, and I was like, oh, it's the mirror neurons. Because I see your face, I smile. I see your face, I see the sadness. I drop into my own sadness, right? Or I see the, and then I feel the, and I'm allowed to like really feel we expand our whole bandwidth when we're together. We could feel all of it. It's one of my things I talk about is how do you expand your bandwidth? Because I said, if you shut everything down, you turn that dial all the way down, then you got no bandwidth. So if something really bad happens in your life, you just fall apart. So you have to expand that bandwidth. And this is not easy work. I'm not saying this is easy work. It's fun because it's expressive and creative, but it's not easy. It's not easy to look and say, wow, I just went crazy during that song. I have so much repressed anger. Like nobody wants to do that. And then you realize, oh my God, I'm so angry at my whoever still, and that's okay. You say, okay, I'm going to love myself. I'm going to embrace my heart. I'm going to give myself permission. I obviously haven't felt that yet. Right. And so it's like, that's the thing. It's like allowing yourself to feel is really what the Journey Dance whole process is about, really, at the end of the day. It's dance and it's fun and it's experience and it's moving and all these wonderful things. But at the end of the day, I want to feel that I actually have some emotional bandwidth, some emotional mastery, maybe even. If I can have a bandwidth and I can say, oh, okay, I'm really angry right now. I've got to go express my anger. And maybe in my relationships with my people in my life, I can say, oh, I don't have to get triggered right now. I can go into my room and I can actually punch a pillow and not do that, not yell at my kid for pissing me off or yell at my partner. I can go into my car and be like, rah, like I did in Journey Dance, roar, and let it out instead of doing it to someone. That's the difference. I want to learn how to never do it to someone and release it to the dance floor. So it's like a valve, like a little radiator knob. It goes.
Yeah, but we need to have the experience. I mean, I think that's the thing. That is how we learn, is through experience. And we need to have those safe places to have experiences so that we can learn. And we know, oh no, that was a little bit too far.
Right.
Let me not do that again. But yeah. So how do you feel that creativity heals? I mean, we're talking about dance and releasing, but creativity, like that force within us, how do you think that actually heals us?
Well, look, I even have a scarf. This is a Journey Dance heart scarf. Just want to show you. Quite pretty. Creativity is my religion, I'll say. I spend a lot of time writing. I spend a lot of time singing and dancing and being with people and theater and all that stuff. So this year, especially, I think that creativity really has become even more prominent in my life. You know, I knew it was always in my life, and people say, "Oh, you're so creative," and I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm just doing my thing." But how I process my emotions, how I process my life is through story. You know, we are living this mythic journey, right? So let's do it. So if let's say I'm feeling really bad and I don't have access to a dance or a friend or anybody, I go and I sit and I pick up the guitar or the piano or my notebook or a crayon or something, and I do something with the feeling. That's just how I am. This is what I do. So this is what I teach. You know, so let's say we it would have been really fun to write a song together at our thing, but we wrote poems and we wrote you know, pieces at our workshop. We spent a lot of time writing. So the creative process like takes the feeling, it takes the story, it takes that, maybe it's the oldest story that you have, maybe it's a new story or something that has happened in your life, and it allows you to sort of, I guess the word would be like, transmute it into something else. So let's say, okay, for example, I wrote a song. My sons, I got divorced in like 2009. And I wrote a song. I felt so bad, and it took me many years to process what I had, quote, done. And I felt like deep down I had broken my children's hearts. Like I felt like I was the first heartbreak, you know, me leaving their father and us separating, all that. And I never really was able to process it in a way. In therapy, I talked about it. I was all great, and I danced it and did all the things I was supposed to do. But to really turn it into something else, I wrote a song. I took it and I wrote a song, and it's like, you know, it goes like something like, "'Cause you were made from love," and it's about, you know, you were made from love. You know, even though all this stuff happened, there was love that made these beautiful boys that I have, you know, that I brought into this world. They're not mine; they belong to the universe. But and then I said, "I'm sorry. I never meant to break your little hearts." And I wrote this song, and it totally changed my relationship with that story, because I wrote the song and I sang the song to somebody else, and they were like, "Oh my God, that so speaks to me. I got divorced." And then it starts to like ripple out. So I feel like creativity and expression connects us to our humanity and to each other. That's kind of the way I'll say it. It's like if I write this wonderful poem and I never share it, it's great. I still transmute it and process it. But if I share it, and that's the remedy, that's my new thing that I'm working on with my co-facilitator Joy. If I share it, then it has an impact. Then it's medicine for each other. If that makes sense. I think creativity is medicine for each other.
And I also, I mean, I agree with you, but I also think that I personally believe that we as humans are here to create. Like that's our role is as creators on this planet. So so I fully agree with you about the creation process. But I do think also when you're sharing it with others, it gives it other facets. You know, again, it's like that mirroring thing. It gives it other facets that maybe we don't even see about whatever that is. So I think creating is important on your own. It's a very important thing, but I agree that once you share it, it takes on kind of a life of its own, and it may morph into something completely different, or it may even be something you may have created something that you really don't even see, or you see one piece of it.
I love that.
Yeah, it's an interesting I hadn't thought about that sharing aspect before.
Oh yeah, the process that we're doing right now is, so what happened was can I just share this quickly about what happened during the pandemic? Okay, so during the pandemic, well, it's not even over yet, so we're still in it, but we started
more time to create.
I know, right? If you're
guess
not,
we're
like,
not done yet.
If you're not working, you know, full time, saving lives, which we appreciate greatly, you know, and you are in sort of a pause of some kind, then this is a great time for that. But what happened was I was teaching the Tuesday class, and people were hanging out afterwards. Like at 1:00 when the class was over, people wouldn't leave. They'd be like, they would just stay on the Zoom call, and we'd be like, all right, well, we got to go. You know, we love you. We got to go. So we said, this is amazing. We need more. We need more. We cannot just have this much connection. We need more. So I taught on Saturdays, and then people would stay and hang around after. I was like, okay, so we need more. Okay, so then we said, okay, we got to do something else, something different. So we created, my co-facilitator and I, Joy, we created this process called the Remedy. So we do this dance process, which is similar to JourneyDance, but it's different. And then we write, and everybody writes, and Joy finds these poems from all over the world, you know, international writers. We want everyone included. No one does not belong in our you know, worldview. And we did, you know, all these amazing poems, and then we get a writing prompt and we write. And we write for like 20 minutes all together on Zoom in our own little houses, and then everyone comes back, and then we go into breakout rooms and people share. And then after the sharing, we come back to the big circle, and then people wanted to stay on the call longer. They wanted to hear more people. So then we said, okay, let's spotlight 4 people today who would like to share. People share, and they read these pieces, and your mind is blown. Your mind is blown because you didn't know that person. And that person has a wisdom that they didn't even know they had. What comes out when they just do, it was like, you know, Julia Cameron, The Artist Way. It was like The Artist Way, you know, in action. We did a 21-day challenge. Then we did 8-week series. Then we did an 8-week series, and we did another 8-week series. Now we just did it in person. So what we're finding is that, and this is totally true, every single person is a wise woman, a wise man, a wise being. Every single, I don't care where you come from, and you are wise. You are a wise being. Okay. And we shared our own wisdom with each other, and people didn't even know that they were touching somebody and healing them. Like my little poem that I wrote, which took like 5 minutes to write and 1 minute to read, someone writes to me, you know, oh my God, that spoke to my heart, you know, and then someone else writes to that person and so on. So we're created this huge community of writers, and we made an anthology called The Remedy Wisdom. I think it's called, I'll get you the link. It's on our website if you want it. You can download the anthology for free. It's called The Remedy, and it's just these beautiful writings of women from all over the country and internationally as well, who wrote these pieces. And you know, we only hear from like the authors and the famous people and the speakers is that, but there's all of us with all of these wisdom and stories to share. And I think that's the magic of creativity. Really, it's just this like, so this week that we just spent at Omega, everybody was doing this, and we shared our writings. And I mean, we cried listening to each other's writings. It wasn't just our own writings that made us cry. It was listening to other people's writings. And then we felt the medicine. I call it the medicine because, you know, medicine doesn't always taste good, but it's supposed to do something really good for you. You know, we all get each other's medicine, like a homeopathic dose of, you know, okay, I felt that. I never had that trauma, but if I had, I hold space for you. I honor you. I see your resilience. I see your beauty. I see your power. I see what you have overcome. And now you are stronger and wiser and more. And I love you for that. Thank you. Like, that's kind of the way we approach it.
And I think what you said earlier about, you know, carrying these traumas of generations before you, you're also carrying all that wisdom. But yes, unfortunately, we haven't found ways, we haven't been taught ways, or even brought to our attention ways to tap into that. So to me, that's probably a big part of creativity, is not that it's even something new, but it's just something that you've gone inside and you've pulled it out somehow. But you have to create that space in order to let those things emerge. And I think because, well, and because these other things are painful, you feel them. I think we've become detached from joy as well. Like, we don't even know what that, I mean, I have this, like, what does it, what is happiness? Like, am I happy? Am I ever happy? What is joy? Do you know, you have those moments, but I think we need to identify that. And yes, I think that those things that come out, maybe even traumas that you resolved for example, but somebody else didn't. So like you said, it's the medicine that somebody else needs, because when it comes out in a sort of perfected way. That's not the right word, but resolved way or at a different frequency. So that then it can be the medicine for somebody else that that maybe is in it, but hasn't quite finished that cycle of whatever is going on.
Yeah, I mean, you said so many things I want to respond to. Oh my God. So one of the things you said that I want to respond to is remind me about to talk about perfection in a minute. But you said something really interesting, and it made me think of the fact that, you know, when I had small children, my children are going to college. I can't believe it, very soon. One is going next week. The other one is one more year. Very freaking me out. But anyway,
I understand that.
Yeah. And art school of all things. I'm so excited. I had no idea we were actually going to go this path. So, but long story short, when I really wanted to homeschool my kids, because I know what I went through, but I just couldn't afford to do it. I had to work and I have a life and I had all these jobs and trying to, you know, make a living and da-da-da. Even though I wanted to homeschool them so badly because I wanted this, what you're talking about, this. So I remember reading, somebody who was a big homeschool advocate told me to read this book by, I believe it was by, please don't quote me because I don't want to make a mistake, but, you know, if you're watching this podcast, you can look it up. I think it was by Dewey, like the guy who invented, like, you know, the library system. Yeah. I think it was this person, and John Dewey. I think he wrote a lot of books about, it was a long time ago that I read it. But anyway, I remember reading this and going, oh my God, this is horrible. It said, we don't need any more thinkers and philosophers and this and that. We need workers. So we're going to teach them the basic R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And that's what they wanted to do. That's what the system is built to do. The system is built to make us, and I'm going to say it frankly, to make us dumb. This is all you need to know are these facts, and this is all you need to know are these facts. So when you are a critical thinker, when you're a critical thinker and you've got creativity, school sucks for you. So most people hate school. And if not, you hate it later and you look back and you say, oh my God, I was a critical thinker and I didn't know, no one gave me a chance to be creative. And you're a creative, critical thinker. So we need more critical thinking right now. We need more creativity. We need more people who are saying, break out of the box. There's so much crap that we have done that we have to fix. So much on so many levels. I have chills through my whole body just thinking about that, which I won't go into right now. That's a whole nother podcast. And I'm working on myself too, to be a, you know, a social justice, you know, activist, to be an earth activist. Like, I want to do everything, but I have my path, and my path is the dance path. That's what it is. You know, I'm here to wake people up through movement and say, you have so much more to you than you realize. Let's go live larger and go do what we have to do. And when you accept your own love for yourself, you see that you are sort of this, I'm going to say the word divine creature. It's so much harder to be violent. And then we can, I 100% believe we can shift the cycle of violence and turn it into a cycle of love. I really believe that we can, but we have to become conscious. We can't do it without becoming conscious. We can't do it without feeling our emotions. We can't stop the violence unless we feel what we have perpetuated. So it's really complex. But the other thing you said was about perfection. And I think about JourneyDance and my whole work in the world, because I am who I am, is that I love raw material. I don't need it to be perfected. I think raw material is great. So I love the word weird. Like we have this thing like reclaiming weird, and like, you know, the weird dance is so much fun, and the perfect dance is so difficult and boring and not that interesting. The weird and whatever shape and strange, whether it's, you know, like processing something to completion is different to me from perfecting it, you know. So I love the idea that creativity is super weird and super wacky and messy. And yeah, you might get a great product out of it. That would be awesome. You know, like I made an album of songs because I loved my creative process, but really what mattered to me was not the actual product. It was the writing the songs and the messages that I was feeling when I was writing the songs or when I'm doing the dance. You know, the thing about dance is that it's so ephemeral. It cannot be captured in a bottle. It cannot be captured in a record. I mean, you could watch a video, but it's just not the same because you're feeling the feeling of dance is this unbelievable, magical, energetic transmission between people. One of my, yeah.
Sorry, but as you said, I think creativity is not perfect. It is about the journey, and that, like you said, it's not about the songs. It's about writing the songs.
Yes.
And that, but again, the way we're programmed is that the outcome has to be perfect. So you're not allowed to make mistakes along the way. But if you think about all the great thinkers that discovered something because they made a mistake,
absolutely,
if we're not allowed to make mistakes, then we're missing a whole lot. But again, this is,
that's why you said it takes courage. It takes courage to be creative, because it's going to be messy and weird and not pretty.
And not to be afraid to fail. Yeah. And that's not what we're taught. Educational systems don't allow us to fail. You take tests, and if you fail, then you have a big problem.
Absolutely.
So I think that's, again, it not just connecting with emotions, but connecting with that ability to fail and that ability to approximate. And these are all things that we need to reclaim. And I think dance does do that.
I remember
it allows you to just be creative.
Yeah, there was a funny story I was telling everybody at the weekend. When I was a little kid, I was in my mom put me in ballet, right? That's what everyone did at that time. They put their kid in ballet. So I was a little short, stubby, not skinny, teeny little girl. I was a chunky, just awkward, little girl. And I remember, and I always felt like my gender was off. I'm not quite sure what my gender pronouns are, to be honest with you. But anyway, so I remember I was they said to my mom, "Oh, can you bring in brown fabric and and get this fuzzy stuff?" My mom's like, "What is this for?" So next thing you know, we're making a little bear costume. And there was this little ballet where 14 little tiny girls in the pink tutus, and they were the two little bears that came out and opened the show. I was already being cast as a comic weirdo. I just didn't know it yet, but I took it very personally. And I felt bad about myself for years and years after that. And I was come out, I had a little basket full of confetti, and I'm tossing the confetti on the floor, and the ballerinas all come out. And I'm just I'm a bear. This is so funny. And then the next year I was a green, I was some green forest creature. I never got the pink tutu thing. So just for those of you,
you got the character roles. Those are the fun roles.
Yeah. So those of you who never got the pink tutu thing, you can come and join JourneyDance because we are all a bunch of characters and the imperfect.
And those are the people that everyone loves, by the way.
Oh, good. Lucky me.
The ones that make them laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is what it really, and I do think that humor, and I'll share this with you. One of the things about JourneyDance is that it sounds like a very serious process. It's very serious. But if we don't have a sense of humor to go along with it, then it's really, we don't really heal. It's the humor and the lightness and the seeing ourselves from a little bit of a distance, which happens over time. When I know that, let's say right now you're feeling a ton of, trauma in your life, and all your stuff's being kicked up by what's happening in the world. There is a space for you, and we will still make you laugh. You know what I'm saying? We will hold this beautiful space for you to cry and feel your pain and all that. But there's something that happens during that funky section. There's something that happens when we all look at each other and we say, "Oh my God, we're okay. We're not alone." Yeah, there's a lot.
I had a friend that always used to say, "You may as well laugh as cry." And I think about that every time I'm in a situation where I want to cry. I'm thinking, well, I might as well laugh. Why am I taking myself so seriously? Let me just laugh about this, or not to disregard it, but it's my choice. I know what you mean. I can see it as absurd, or I can cry about it, or whatever. But usually it is absurd somehow. So,
there's one last thing on that. I just want to share something that happens. I'll just give you a quick, tiny story. So we're dancing, we're moving, and there's this beautiful man, and men don't cry in public. It just doesn't happen, right? Okay, I'm being very stereotypical. Men don't cry in public. So this man, beautiful man, a really, masculine man, starts like having an emotion. I can see it from a distance. I'm in the room and I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to happen. So I go over and I'm like, okay, I'm going to assist in this process. I'm going to midwife this man's cry. So I just gently, put my hand on his back so he knows I'm there, and then boom, bursts into tears. And the other people just gently, we're just around. Everyone's still doing their dance. They're not taking his cry away, and they're just saying, yes, thank you, yes, thank you, yes, thank you. Because when he cries, we all get to heal because we see this man crying. I don't know how else to describe it, but so many people needed to see a man cry with what's happening in the world right now. The women, so like sometimes we have like, I'll call it the pain in my chest. I have this pain in my chest. It's very rare, but when it comes, it's so painful. And I know what it is. And I've learned over all these years, I have been holding back a very big cry that I have been suppressing for weeks or days or minutes or years or months, whatever it is. So when I let that out, a whole like world is revealed to me of joy. I know it sounds crazy, but because I let that out, that pain that I was suppressing and carrying, and I couldn't have not have let it out just walking around and going to the supermarket and surviving. I did it because I was moving. And when I moved my energy, I felt a little bit of emotion. I felt a little bit of joy. I felt a little bit of whatever I feel sensorily, it awakened that thing in me that wants to be released. And then when I let it go, the amount of freedom that appears for me. So we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do, processing, feeling, letting things move through us so that we can be open to the next thing. Because if we're repressing, I was spending so much time repressing that cry so that I could be good and, functional and blah, blah, blah. But if I don't let it out, and it won't last forever. That's the thing. We get so scared it's going to last forever. It won't. It will last like 2 minutes, maybe 5, maybe 10, and then it will dissipate. And
but I think
like,
the first step, as you said, is the awareness. To have that awareness, to know that when you have that pain in your chest, oh, right, I need to, something is being held and it needs to be, I get migraines. When I get a migraine, I know I need to cry.
Yes.
Because I'm just not tuned into that. So as soon as I get a migraine, I do something just to make myself cry.
So good. I mean, this is embodiment.
It goes away. But
right. This is the embodiment
that
process.
Pain. Yeah, it takes that pain to cue you in to the fact that that something's going on, that there's something I'm not paying attention to and that I need to. And so those are all good cues to, again, because we're just so disconnected from, we've had such a long time. The older we are, we've had longer to get ourselves into those bad habits of being disconnected from our emotions and all of that. So, yeah.
Well, this is what I think I'm here for helping people. It's so funny when people say, what do you do for a living? This guy, he said to me, he was watching me teach the class, and he's like, oh, you're like the life of the party that gets to insert these conscious up-leveling messages to people. And I was like, oh my God, I love that description. I want to write that down. I was like, I thought I'd make people cry. He's like, no, you're so funny. And what I really do is roll around on the, right. What I really do is I say, what do you do for them? I teach people how to roll around on the floor and get into their body. Yeah.
To play. How about that? I teach people how to play and experience.
Oh, all those things. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're getting on with time here, but there's one last thing that I'd like to ask you about is about spiritual connection. You were mentioning that you've studied religions, but you're not of any particular religion. So how would you describe spiritual connection and what's the importance of that?
Such a good question. Yeah. So for me, and I think for many people who are the dance, there's something about the dancer person. And if you've never danced before, please try it. You got nothing to lose. Okay. There's a connection. And I think that there is I call it my divine connection, that it's almost like when I'm dancing, something opens up for me and I can see that I'm not just this. To me, the spiritual connection is that I'm not just a physical body. I'm not just a physical body. And that sensation actually comes from getting into the physical body and saying, oh my God, this is my tool. This is how I express myself. Like as I'm talking to you right now, I know that you're seeing my mouth move and you're hearing my voice, but there's some other energy moving through me. And that is my spirit. That is what I call spirit. Like, what is animating this? Why does music make me go, oh, like music is a thing. Music is a thing. Music is my favorite thing. And music takes me someplace. It's not just my body. If it was just my body, I'd be just doing the same movie. I'd be flying and floating and, you know, snapping my fingers and feeling the beat. There's something else. There's this mystical something inside of us that connects to the music. Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, that's the divine connection. And when I can touch into my mystical self, my spirit self, then I get so many more answers. If I have a question, I ask it on the dance floor. I say, because when I'm on the dance floor, I'm in an altered state. My mind is being taken up by the music. My body is moving around. And this other part of me, this mystical divinity, I don't know what else to call it, says, oh, this is what's happening right now. I'm like, oh. So I get it there. It's like meditation for me. You know, people meditate and they sit and they can get to that place. And they call it like sort of, you know, the empty place or the wandering place, and something else comes in and they know it's a different voice. It's not the voice of the blah, blah, blah. It's a different voice. That to me is divinity. It's like you can touch it through music, through movement, through meditation, through yoga, however you touch it, through walking, but I touch it on the dance floor. And I think everyone who comes to this dance floor and many other conscious dance floors find this. That's why we're here on this podcast, because you know it.
Yes. And that I think is the importance of sacred dance, because I think, and this is the reason I brought up this question, is because I think many people think spirituality is like something out there, like something that you connect to, you know, or, you know, somehow taking you out of your body. And I think I agree with you. We are the vessel for that divinity, that we create that place for the divinity to come in and then to create through us. So I think that, again, sacred dance or some kind of embodiment practice allows you to feel the divinity, as opposed to just mentally experiencing it or thinking about it or it being somehow outside of you. But to embody it, I think, allows us to have that personal experience.
I used to get in trouble in like Hebrew school, or I would go to church. I would go everywhere, but I always get in trouble because if the thing was boring to me, and I'm very easily bored, if it was boring to me, I would just leave. So I'd be like sitting there and they'd be telling stories, blah, 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 blah. I'd be like, nope, this is not spirit. This is not God, whatever that is. I left. I would go outside and play, and I'd get in trouble or go to some room in the place and try to find something to do. I was like that kind of kid. And I did get in trouble a lot. And I don't regret it, not for 1 second. And it happened to me the other day. I went to a service because it was an obligatory situation. I had to go. And I was sitting there like, okay, I'm at my point now. I've reached my point where now we're just doing this, like, we're not in the spirit. So to me, the spirit has to have some singing or some dancing or some way to embody it. It's not just words we're going to be reading on a piece of paper. That doesn't do it for me. That's just me. And I respect all people and doing their thing. But as you said, to me, it's embodying the spirit. That's it. Like, that is why I think I call it movement is my religion. I have all these things. Weird is my religion. Creativity is my religion. Journey dance is a spiritual practice. Because to me, I'm in my spirit practice when I'm doing it.
Yes. And I think if anyone has not had the experience of a movement practice, spiritual or a movement-based spiritual practice, definitely try it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's very, I mean, and it's a little bit weird. You're gonna be like, what is happening? And as soon as you think this is weird, you're good. Because we're all weird. That's whenever I told you, we reclaim the word weird. We said weird is good. And you don't have to be any kind of special body or any kind of special anything. Anybody can do it. And if you can't do certain movements, you just do your own movements. You know, it's very open ended. There are no like, I do love learning dance movements and steps and all that stuff, but I don't have to. You don't have to. There's no, it's like a whole world of just expression.
Yeah, find the way that works for you, whatever that is.
Exactly.
So do you have any up and coming events? Tell us what's going on and how people can contact you.
I've tried to keep lots of events going, even though some events we planned were canceled, etc. So at the moment, what we definitely know for sure is that we're doing the Remedy, which is that movement, writing, and sharing practice, which is totally powerful. I just did a week of it, as I said, with people in person, but we're doing Remedy online. And it's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know what time that is for you because, as you know, I messed up the time thing. So it's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is
Eastern Daylight Time.
Eastern Daylight Time.
Yep.
Great Eastern Daylight Time.
Yep.
And it's so it starts on September 10th, and we're doing a 7-day kickoff to start your practice if you've never done it before. And then we go to every Friday after that for 8 weeks. And we'll be creating a community of listeners, really, writers, listeners, dancers, sharers, and we really will it's such an amazing experience called the Remedy online experience. And then I also have a Module 1 teacher training, which is the embodiment experience, starting in like mid to late September online. It's a 3-weekend training online, and we just do like 10 to 2 because we don't want people to be online all day. So we spread it out over quite a bit of 3-week period. And then, of course, coming up down the road, I have in-person events happening and the big retreat in Mexico, hopefully, if that still happens. In April, we're going to be going to Mexico and doing the Remedy Live. And one of the fun things about the Remedy Live is that Joy is a dancer, a singer as well, and a professional vocalist, my co-facilitator. I created a one-person show last year, and I have a lot of comedy, so we had open mics every night of this program, and people shared and got up and they read their pieces, and they weren't open mics like talent. They were open mics heart sharing. And some people did very, very intense share. Some people wrote poetry. Some people were funny, and it was amazing. So there's space for you because that's what it's about. It's about the people who come having space to explore themselves in a container of respect and celebration. That's what I got beautiful. So far. Mod Good. 1 and the Remedy. And you can find me, you can follow me at Toni Bergins on Instagram. I like to make reels and I like to inspire people to feel something. So if you watch my reels, it's like, I want you to feel something. I want you to feel something. That's at Toni Bergins. And then my website, as you can see there, is JourneyDance.com. Lots of events are up there, teacher training and everything. I also work privately with people one-on-one in this fashion with a lot of movement and expression and some talking and some intuitive work.
So just to remind you, Toni's website is www.journeydance.com, and you can find her on Facebook, Toni Bergins, sorry,
That's all good.
and Journey Dance, and also on Instagram.
That's it. She's so good. You're awesome.
So look for Toni. You have many different outlets that you can find her at. All right. Well, I apologize. I've lost my light here. The sun has gone down, so I'm using the computer light. So I'm reflecting. So I apologize for that. But thank you, Toni. Thank you for being here. It was lovely to hear about what you're doing and all the things that you have coming up and the work that you do.
Journey Dance teachers all over. We have Journey Dance teachers now, Spain, Italy, South America, Mexico, as well as lots of United States. Not a lot in Egypt. We're going to have to remedy that.
There you go. Yep. It's time. Okay. Good. All right. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Bye-bye. All right. So that was a very interesting talk. Thank you, Toni, for being here. And thank you to all the people watching. And just to let you know that next month, I have Erica Ross. She's the co-founder of The Move, Dance Our Way Home, and Daily Dance. And that's on September 12th. And if you are on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. That helps other people find the videos. And you can like and share. If you're listening to this as a podcast, same thing. Please follow, like, and share. That helps other people find them as well. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing people next month. And until then, take care. Bye-bye.